The smart lock beeped "access denied" that Saturday morning. Then the yelling started, demanding I open up your brother's house. I started recording, cracking the door just an inch. My mother stood there, holding a thick file, telling me to just sign. 5 minutes later, I found the appraisal notice for a home equity line of credit in my name that I never applied for. When they attacked my business with 1-star reviews, I gathered my proof for a family meeting I would control. My name is Eloise Gray. For the past decade, I've built a life my family always claimed they wanted for me, but never understood. I own Harborline Studio, a small but respected interior design firm here in Philadelphia. I live in a condo I bought myself, with a 30-year mortgage I've been paying down aggressively for 9 of those years. My home is my sanctuary, my proof of concept, the one place where the lines are clean and the decisions are my own. That sanctuary was violated at 8:11 a.m. on a Saturday. The sound that woke me wasn't gentle. It was the sharp, digitized trill of my smart lock, followed by the electronic voice, "access denied." I was instantly awake, my heart kicking against my ribs like a trapped bird. It was too early for a client, too abrupt for a friend. The sound came again. Beep, beep, beep. Access denied. Someone was trying the old guest code, the one I had deleted months ago. My bare feet hit the cool marble floor of the bedroom. I didn't reach for a robe. I reached for my phone on the nightstand. My fingers were already moving, swiping past the lock screen, opening the camera. I tapped the video function and hit record. The small red light in the corner of the screen was a comfort, a silent witness. I held the phone up, angling it toward my apartment door as I moved out of the bedroom. "Eloise, open this damn door. What did you do to the code?" My blood went cold. It was Carter, my younger brother. His voice wasn't the one I'd known from childhood. It was the reedy, entitled snarl he'd developed in his 20s, the one that always preceded a demand. "Access denied." "Ugh, she's doing it on purpose," Carter whined, his voice muffled by the thick oak of my door. "Mom, she locked me out." I stopped just short of the door, in the small foyer. I could see the peephole, but I didn't look. I just stood there, my phone steady, the 4K video streaming directly, blessedly, to a secure cloud server. I paid extra for that service. At the time, I thought it was for fire or theft. I was wrong. "Eloise, honey," a new voice called, smooth and practiced. My mother, Lorraine. "We know you're in there. Your brother is here. Open the door." "It's my house now." Carter yelled. "Mom said this is my house." The words hung in the air, nonsensical and terrifying. My house. I looked around my foyer, at the custom console table I had designed, the antique mirror I had painstakingly restored, the art I had saved for months to buy. My house. I heard the heavy clack-clack of her heels on the hallway tile. She was at the door now. "Eloise, I am not going to argue through the wood," Lorraine said, her voice dropping into the register she reserved for bank tellers and disobedient children. "I have the papers. This is a simple internal family transfer. Now, be a good daughter and let us in." Papers. My stomach clenched. I saw a shape move in the distorted glass of the peephole, and I finally, foolishly, looked. My mother stood there, perfectly put together in a cream-colored pantsuit, holding a brown leather portfolio. Carter was beside her, vibrating with impatience, his face red, and just behind them, lingering near the elevator bank, was my father, Frank. A ghost in a beige windbreaker, his head down, purposefully avoiding the camera I knew he could see through the peephole. He was the lookout, the getaway driver, the passive, silent enabler that made all of this possible. He wouldn't even look at the door. He wouldn't look at me. A hot, metallic surge of adrenaline and fury washed over me. The girl who used to flinch, the student who just wanted to earn their approval, vanished. The owner of Harborline Studio, the woman who negotiated contracts with hard-nosed developers and stared down skeptical contractors, took her place. I reached up and slid the heavy brass security chain into its track. The sound was loud in the silence. Snick thud. Then, I opened the door. It opened only 3 inches, held fast by the chain. My phone was held high, the lens perfectly framed on the scene in the hallway. "This is Eloise Gray," I said, my voice surprising me with its steadiness. "I am in my home. I am recording this interaction. You are not welcome here." My mother's perfectly painted smile tightened. The mask slipped. "Eloise, do not be dramatic. Put that phone down and unchain this door." "Mom said it's my house," Carter repeated, like a mantra. He was an echo of her will. "You are not on the deed, Carter," I said, my voice flat. "You are not on the mortgage." "That's what the papers are for, you stupid girl," Lorraine snapped, and she thrust the leather portfolio toward the gap. "It's a quitclaim deed. Your father and I have decided. Carter needs a fresh start. An asset. You have your little business. This apartment is too much for one person. It's family property." "It's my property," I said. "I bought it. I pay for it." "And we paid for your college," Lorraine shot back. "We supported you. This is how you repay us. By hoarding, just sign the papers. Eloise, sign them. And this will all be over. We can be a family again. Sign them, and it will be over." The casual, monstrous threat of it. "No," I said. Just that one word. It was the only word. Carter's face contorted. The petulance shattered, revealing the rage beneath. "You bitch!" he screamed, and before I could even react, he lunged. His shoulder slammed into the door. Whump! The entire door frame shuddered. The noise was like a small explosion in the foyer. The wood groaned. The chain went taut as a guitar string, and the screws holding it to the frame bit deep. For one terrifying second, I thought it would give. I stumbled back, my hand flying to the door to hold it shut, but the chain held. The screws held. My design business had taught me one thing: never, ever skimp on hardware. I had installed that chain myself with 3-inch screws straight into the stud. Carter recoiled, clutching his shoulder. I stared at the vibrating chain, my heart hammering so hard I felt it in my teeth. "Carter," Frank's voice, finally, weak, alarmed, from down the hall. "Don't the neighbors?" Lorraine's eyes were wide, not with fear, but with calculation. She was recalibrating. The battering ram had failed. The diplomat would now retake the stage. "That's enough," I said, my voice shaking now, but not with fear. It was rage. Pure, uncut, industrial-grade rage. "Get away from my door. I am calling the police." "You wouldn't," Lorraine scoffed, but she pulled Carter back by the arm. "You would not embarrass this family." "You are not family," I said, the words tasting like acid. "Not anymore. Get out." I slammed the door shut. The sound echoed. I didn't wait. I threw the deadbolt. Thud. I turned the secondary lock on the knob. Snick. I relatched the top lock. Click. 3 layers of steel and brass between me and them. I leaned my entire body against the solid wood of the door. My phone still held up, still recording the blank white paint in front of me. My hand was shaking. The shaking started in my fingers and traveled up my arm, into my shoulders, down my spine, until my entire body was vibrating. I wasn't the calm, collected professional anymore. I was a 31-year-old woman hiding in her own home. I could hear them murmuring in the hallway. Lorraine's sharp, angry whispers, Carter's frustrated groans, my father's placating, useless mumbles. Then, the ding of the elevator. Silence. I stood there for a full minute, just breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The calming technique my first therapist had taught me. It wasn't working. I slowly lowered my phone and finally hit stop recording. The file save icon whirred for a second. Upload complete. I slid down the door and sat on the cold floor of my foyer, my knees drawn up to my chest. I looked across the living room. The morning sun was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Everything was peaceful. Everything was exactly as I had designed it, and everything had almost been taken away. I put my head on my knees. The shaking was starting to subside, replaced by a cold, dreadful clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a fight. This was an invasion. It was a planned, coordinated assault. They had papers. They had a plan. My phone buzzed in my hand, making me jump. I lifted it, my thumbprint unlocking the screen. A new email had come in while I was recording. The notification banner was still visible at the top of the screen. From Auto Notify Liberty First Bank. Com subject appointment confirmation appraisal for account ending 4497. My blood, which had been boiling, turned to ice. I tapped the email. Dear Eloise Gray, this confirms your appointment for a property appraisal on Monday, October 21st at 10 a.m. for your home equity line of credit application pending. Please ensure the appraiser has full access to the property. If you need to reschedule, please contact your loan officer, Lorraine Gray, at... I stopped reading. Loan officer, Lorraine Gray. It wasn't my mother's title. It was the contact name she had put on the application. An application for a line of credit. Against my home. In my name. An application I had never filled out. An application that was now pending. The appraisal was the last step before they unlocked the equity I had spent 9 years building. The shaking stopped. Instantly, a cold, terrifying calm settled over me, the kind of focus you get right before a final exam you haven't studied for, or right before you present a $1 million pitch. The fear was gone, burned away by the sheer, criminal audacity of it. This was not a family dispute. This was identity theft. This was felony-level fraud. I stood up. I walked past the foyer, into my office. I sat down at my desk and pulled my laptop toward me. On the shelf to my left was a simple framed document, my deed. I grabbed a stack of papers next to it, my latest mortgage statement, showing the principal balance. I laid them out on the desk, side by side, proof. They thought I was still the girl who would do anything for their approval. They thought I was the student who could be intimidated. They had forgotten who I had become. They had forgotten that I design, I build, and I document. They had just tried to steal my house. They had no idea they had just started a war. And I was already gathering my ammunition. The Liberty First Bank email burned on my laptop screen. A toxic blue-white glow in the quiet of my office. Loan Officer Lorraine Gray. It was the kind of detail that was so absurdly, tragically perfect that it couldn't be anything but the truth. The attempted home invasion at 8:11 a.m. wasn't the opening move. It was the desperate, clumsy escalation. The real attack, the one that laid out the entire plot, had happened less than 12 hours ago, under the flattering, low-voltage lighting of Mariner's Table. It was my father's 65th birthday. Frank, he loved the pomp of a seafood tower, and Lorraine loved the audience. So there we were, at the best table in the house, overlooking the Delaware River. The mood was superficially festive. I'd ordered a bottle of Sancerre, his favorite, and even Carter managed to put on a clean shirt. The oysters had been cleared. The second bottle of wine was half empty, and Frank was laughing at a story Carter was telling about some failed crypto venture. He just needs a little seed money, Frank, Lorraine said, reaching across the table to pat Carter's hand. A little capital to get his feet under him. It's all about assets. She then raised her glass of Chardonnay, her rings catching the light, the practiced, performative gesture of a matriarch about to bestow her grace. A toast, she announced to the table, though her eyes were fixed on me. To Frank on his birthday, of course, and to Carter, on his new beginning. May he finally secure the asset he needs to truly start his life. Here, Frank murmured, raising his glass, already nodding in agreement to a statement he didn't understand. Carter just smirked into his wineglass. A cold, tingling sensation started at the base of my spine. I kept my smile in place, the one I used for difficult clients. That sounds exciting. Carter, what asset are you two talking about? The silence that followed was different from the pre-toast chatter. It wasn't relaxed. It was heavy, expectant. Lorraine laughed, a high, tinkling sound that scraped against my nerves. Oh, Eloise, don't be coy. Your apartment, of course. I set my glass down, very slowly. My apartment. Our apartment, Carter corrected, his voice lazy, as if stating the obvious. It's the family asset. You've had your fun with it. Now it's my turn to leverage it. I looked at my father. Dad? What are they talking about? Frank swirled the wine in his glass. Refusing to meet my eyes, he gave a weak, dismissive wave. Now, Eloise, your mother and I have been discussing this. It's a family decision. Carter needs this. You're established. You have your studio. It's only fair. Fair, I repeated. The word was flat, tasteless. It's fair that you give Carter my home. The home I have a mortgage on, the home I pay the taxes and the association fees for. Don't get technical, dear, Lorraine said, her smile never wavering. It's all just paperwork. We put up the deposit for you, remember. They had given me $5,000 for my college graduation, which I had used toward the closing costs. A gift, one I had paid back in gratitude, and in services, 1,000 times over. This is a decision, Lorraine continued, her voice hardening, dropping the pretext of celebration. We are telling you this as a courtesy. We will be by tomorrow with the papers to make the transfer official, an internal family transfer. It will be clean. Carter shrugged, the gesture of a prince assured of his inheritance. It's a family decision. Just sign the papers. I looked at the three of them. My father, the coward, my brother, the parasite, my mother, the architect. The waiter chose that exact moment to return. Is everything all right here? Can I get you another bottle of wine? He beamed at us. You all seem like such a happy, united family. The irony was so thick, I could have choked on it. Just the check, I said, pulling my wallet out. We're finished here. I paid the $400 bill and walked out. I left them sitting at the table, their faces a mixture of confusion and, from my mother, a flicker of genuine anger. Their plan had been interrupted. They hadn't gotten to the part where I cried, argued, and then, as I always had before, eventually collapsed under their united pressure. They expected me to be the good, pliable student. They hadn't factored in the last decade of my life. They hadn't factored in Harborline Studio, the company I had built from nothing by fighting for every contract and auditing every invoice. I didn't go home and cry. I went home and got to work. The first thing I did was walk to the smart lock on my front door. I pulled up the app on my phone. Guest access Lorraine. Delete. Guest access Carter. Delete. Guest access Frank. Delete. Emergency access family. Delete. The digital clicks were satisfying. Final. That was why Carter's code had failed this morning. That's why he'd had to pound on the door like a common thug. Then, I went to my office, the same office I was sitting in now, staring at the HELOC email. Last night, I hadn't known about the fraudulent loan. I just knew they were coming. I pulled open the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet, the one marked Home. I pulled out the original closing documents, the thick stack of paper, my signature on every page. I pulled out the deed, clear and registered with the City of Philadelphia, Eloise Gray, sole proprietor. I pulled out my mortgage statements, a neat file for each of the last 9 years. I pulled out the property tax receipts, all paid in full, by me. I pulled out the canceled checks for the Condo Association fees. I stacked it all on my desk. It was a mountain of proof, a fortress of paper. I 3-hole punched every single page. I took a new, 2-inch white binder from the supply closet. I slid each stack of paper onto the rings, separating them with colored tabs. Deed, mortgage, taxes, insurance. I picked up the label maker, the small black device a comfort in my hand. I typed the word, printed it, and stuck the white strip on the spine of the binder, proof. I had placed it on my bookshelf and gone to bed. I had expected a fight. I had expected screaming, emotional blackmail, and threats. I had the binder ready to prove my ownership. I had not been prepared for fraud. I looked at the HELOC email again. How could they apply for a loan in my name without my signature, without my consent? The bank would need my social security number, a memory, cold and sharp, surfaced from 13 years ago. I was at the kitchen table, drowning in college financial aid forms. The FAFSA. It was a nightmare of boxes and tax codes. Lorraine had swept in, smelling of expensive perfume, and taken the papers from my hand. "Oh, Eloise, you'll mess this up. It's too complicated for you. Just give me your documents. I'll handle all of this. What's your social security number?" I had given it to her, gratefully. She had handled my financial aid every year after that, always reminding me how much she was doing, how lost I would be without her. She wasn't just my mother, she was my administrator, and she had kept the key. She had held on to my 9-digit identity, a weapon kept in reserve, waiting for the moment when I finally, truly, defied her. The script she had written was suddenly, horrifyingly clear. The plan wasn't just to get the condo, it was to get the condo and the money inside it. Plan A. Show up this morning, as they did, with a quitclaim deed. Use their combined force of will, their lifetime of practice manipulation, to bully me into signing away the title. Sign it for the family. Eloise, don't be selfish. Plan B. Running concurrently. The HELOC. Why just take the property when you can also take the equity? They apply for the loan in my name, forge the signatures, and schedule the appraisal. If I signed the deed Plan A, they would control the house. Then they would drain the equity Plan B and leave me with nothing but the unsecured debt. If I didn't sign the deed as I hadn't, they would still try to drain the equity. They would get the cash. Carter would get his startup money, and I would be left with a massive new lien against my home. A second mortgage I couldn't possibly pay while also running my business. They would force me into default, and the bank would take the condo. They would win either way. The sheer, sociopathic brilliance of it, the arrogance. They were so used to me being the compliant one, the good daughter who just wanted peace, that they never imagined I would fight back. They never imagined I would audit the plan. They had written their script, and they expected me to play my part. I opened a new, blank document on my laptop. I saved it as Timeline Gray Fraud. I looked at the clock. 8:45 a.m. My fingers flew across the keyboard, typing, documenting, marking every single event. Friday, 8:30 p.m. Dinner at Mariner's table, verbal threat to seize property. L. Gray, C. Gray, F. Gray present. Friday, 10:15 p.m. All smart lock access codes for Gray family revoked. Saturday, 8:11 a.m. Attempted forced entry. C. Gray physical assault on door. L. Gray presents papers quitclaim deed. F. Gray present video evidence captured and secured. Saturday, 8:14 a.m. Email notification of fraudulent HELOC application from Liberty First Bank. My hands were steady now. The fear was gone. The rage was gone. All that was left was the work. This was no longer a family drama. This was a forensic investigation, and I was the lead investigator. The victim and the client, all rolled into one. They had written their kitsch ban. Now, I would write mine. I sat at my desk, the silence of the condo amplifying the hammering in my chest. The email from Liberty First Bank wasn't a threat. It was a receipt, appointment confirmation, contact Lorraine Gray. The audacity was breathtaking. They hadn't just planned to strong-arm me. They had a parallel clandestine operation running. My hands were cold, but my mind was hot, clear. The student was gone. The designer who built things was gone. The person sitting in this chair was a demolitions expert, and my only job was to defuse the bomb they had planted in the foundation of my life. I ignored the customer service line at the bottom of the email. I opened a new browser tab and searched Liberty First Bank Internal Fraud Reporting. I found a direct number for their risk management division. I dialed. My phone, which I'd set to record all calls, gave a soft beep. Liberty First Bank, Fraud Prevention. This is Brenda. How can I help you? Her voice was calm, bored even. My name is Eloise Gray, I said, my voice as flat and hard as my marble countertops. My property address is 1204 Locust. I have just received an email confirmation for a home equity line of credit, application ending in 4497. that I did not authorize and did not submit. I am reporting active, in-progress identity theft. The click-clack of Brenda's keyboard started. I'm very sorry to hear that. Ma'am, let me pull up that file. I'll just need to verify your identity to protect your account. Of course, I said. Can you please state your full social security number? I gave it to her. The 9 digits my mother had memorized 13 years ago for the FAFSA. Thank you. And your date of birth. I gave it. And for the final verification step, what is your mother's maiden name? The question landed like a physical blow. The air rushed out of my lungs. The system, the very shield meant to protect me, was a list of questions my attacker had written the answers to. Brenda, I said, my voice tight. The woman perpetrating this fraud is my mother. A pause on the line. The clicking stopped. Oh, Brenda said. Her boredom was gone. Okay, let's try a different set. What was the make and model of your first car? A 1999 Toyota Camry, dark green. Lorraine had negotiated the price. And the street you lived on in high school. Ashwood Drive. What high school did you graduate from? Linwood High. Every answer was a piece of my life that she had curated. I felt a wave of nausea. I had never had a private fact, a secure detail, that she hadn't held in her hand first. All right, Ms. Gray, you are verified, Brenda said, oblivious to the existential horror of that statement. I see the application. It was submitted online 48 hours ago. It's pending appraisal. Here is what you are going to do, Brenda, I said. All pretense of politeness gone. This was a checklist. This was a contract negotiation. First, you are going to immediately freeze and cancel this application. I want it terminated. Not paused. Terminated. Yes, ma'am. I'm flagging it now. Second, I cut her off. You will cancel the appraisal scheduled for Monday, October 21st, at 10 a.m. I want confirmation that the appraisal company has been notified and that no one from your bank or any third party will attempt to access my property. I'm canceling it in the system right now. Click, clack, clack. Done. Third, you will place a high-risk identity theft flag on my social security number, my name, and my property address. No new applications of any kind credit, loan, mortgage, nothing are to be processed in your system without a direct verbal confirmation from me using a new unique password that I'm going to set with you right now. Do you understand? Yes. What would you like the password to be? Harbor Line Blueprints, I said. Something she would never, ever guess. Something that was mine. Got it? Brenda said. That's active. Fourth, I need a case number, a reference number for this fraud report. For my records. She gave me a 10-digit file number. I typed it directly into my Timeline Gray Fraud document. 9:04 a.m. Call to LFB. Spoke with Brenda. Case ID 770-91B44A. Fifth, and finally, I require 2 forms of confirmation. The first, an email, which I expect to receive before we hang up this call, confirming the application is canceled and the fraud investigation is open. The second, a formal letter, sent via United States Postal Service on bank letterhead, stating the same. That physical letter is non-negotiable. Do you agree to both? Yes, Ms. Gray. I'm typing the email now. You should have it. My inbox chimed. Subject confirmation of fraud report, application cancellation. I have it, I said, my voice colder than I thought possible. Thank you. Brenda, you have been efficient. I am saving a record of this call. I hung up. I didn't pause. I didn't breathe. That was just the first leak. Now I had to seal the hull. I opened 3 new browser tabs: Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, the Big Three, the gatekeepers. I went to the first site, Experian. I clicked Security Freeze. I entered my social security number, my address, my date of birth. I paid the nominal fee. I was given a PIN, a long, complex number that would be required to thaw my credit. I saved it in a password-protected file. Next, Equifax. Click. Place a security freeze. Fill. Submit. Pay. PIN saved. Next. TransUnion. Click. Credit freeze. Fill. Submit. Pay. PIN saved. In less than 20 minutes, I had built a digital fortress around my financial identity. My credit was now a block of ice. No one could apply for a car, a loan, a credit card, or a home equity line in my name. Not Lorraine, not Carter, not even me. Then, I went back, one by one. I added a 1-year, renewable fraud alert. This was the belt and the suspenders. A freeze stops access. An alert forces any creditor who does get access to take extra steps, to call me, to verify my identity in a way a simple mother's maiden name cannot. I leaned back. The adrenaline was starting to wear off, leaving a metallic taste in my mouth. Evidence. My brain snapped back to the task. I opened my secure cloud drive. I created a new folder. I named it Evidence Eloise Gray Octo 19. I created subfolders HELOC Fraud, Video Evidence, Correspondence. I uploaded the confirmation email from Liberty First Bank. I uploaded the PDFs of my credit freeze confirmations. I uploaded the audio file of my call with Brenda. I uploaded the 4K video I had taken at the door, the one with Carter's shoulder hitting the wood, and Lorraine's voice demanding I sign. This couldn't live just with me. I needed a mirror, a dead man's switch. I clicked share. I paused. There was only one person, my mother's sister, Aunt Rose. Rose was the family's original exile, a paralegal in Chicago who had seen Lorraine's true nature 30 years ago and had the good sense to move 1,000 miles away. She sent me birthday cards with $20 bills and short, supportive notes. She was the only one who had ever told me, "Your mother is a piece of work. Build your own walls." I typed in her email address. I gave her editor privileges. I added a note. "Rose, I'm in trouble. It's Lorraine. I'm building a file. I just need you to be a backup. Please don't call them. Please just watch this folder." She would understand. She was a paralegal. She knew what a file meant. Next, the official report. I needed the government on my side. New tab. Identity theft. Gov. The federal government portal was clean, impersonal, and exactly what I needed. Report identity theft. I clicked. I began the process. What happened? Someone applied for a home equity line of credit in my name without my permission. What information was used? My social security number, my name, my address. Do you know the person? I stared at the yes, no, I'm not sure buttons. I clicked yes. Name of person or organization, Lorraine Gray, Carter Gray, Frank Gray. Typing their names into the official government form felt final. It was an amputation. I was cutting them off, declaring them a source of infection. When I was done, the system generated a multi-page, official FTC identity theft affidavit. It was a legal document I could now take to the police, to the bank, to anyone who questioned the story. It was my truth. Notarized by the United States government. I downloaded the PDF. I uploaded it to the cloud. FTC Affidavit Gray PDF. My timeline document was open. I went to the bottom and created a new heading, Action Items. 1. Find out the IP address of the initial HELOC application. The bank's IT department will have it. A lawyer can subpoena it. This will prove where it was filed from. Their home. A public library. 2. Change every password. Every, single, 1, bank, email, business, social media, and more importantly, change every security question. I spent the next hour performing a digital exorcism. What is your mother's maiden name? Answer Harborline. What was the name of your first pet? Answer Blueprint. What street did you grow up on? Answer None of your business. In what city did your parents meet? Answer Redacted. I was scrubbing my mother's fingerprints from my life. One secure question at a time. They would never use my past against me again. As if on cue, my phone, which I'd set to Do Not Disturb, lit up. The screen remained dark, but the missed notification count climbed. 3 missed calls from Lorraine Gray, 1 missed call from Frank Gray, a string of texts from Carter. "You can't just kick us out. What the hell did you do? Mom is having a panic attack. Are you happy? Call me." I looked at the buzzing phone. I felt nothing. No guilt, no anger, just cold. I went back to my action items document. I added one last item. I selected the text and hit the bold button. Do not engage. Do not respond to texts. Do not answer calls. All communication will be in writing, through certified mail or via legal counsel. You do not talk to them, not alone, not ever again. I closed the laptop. The apartment was silent. Save for the hum of the refrigerator, I had built the wall. Now, I waited to see what they would do next. Monday morning, 10 a.m., the exact time the appraisal was supposed to happen. I was in my studio, Harborline's office, the sunlight streaming in, but I felt no warmth. I had canceled the appraiser. My credit was frozen, and my evidence folder was locked and mirrored. I had survived the weekend. I thought I had won the battle. Then my business phone, the one on the desk, buzzed. It was a Google business notification. New review from Philly Design, Lover 88. I clicked 1 star. The text read, I am so disappointed in Harborline Studio. I had a consultation scheduled, and the owner just canceled. No explanation. She seemed completely unstable. I would not trust her with a major project. Seems very deceptive. My blood went cold. I had no consultation scheduled with a Philly Design Lover 88. I hadn't canceled on anyone. Before I could even process the malice, the phone buzzed again. New review from Mark P. Philly, 1 star. Avoid this business. The owner Eloise is a liar. She talks a good game, but when it came time to commit, she bailed, claiming family issues. Incredibly unprofessional. She canceled our agreement at the last minute. Total fraud. My stomach hollowed out. I hadn't canceled any agreements. I hadn't spoken to a Mark P. The phone buzzed a third time. New review from Concerned Customer 12, 1 star. This company is a risk. I heard from a friend who hired them that the designer is mentally unstable and pulled out of a major job without notice. If you want reliability, look elsewhere. She is not trustworthy. Unstable, deceptive, canceled at the last minute. This was not a coincidence. This was a carpet bombing. This was Lorraine's voice, sanitized through the anonymity of the internet. They couldn't break down my door, so they were going to burn down my livelihood. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. I went into procedural mode. The detective in me, the one forged over the last 48 hours, took over. I took a full-page screenshot of the first review, making sure the timestamp and the URL were visible. Save as review1lover88.png. I took a screenshot of the second review. Save as review2ku mark p png. I took a screenshot of the third. Save as review3 concerned png. I created a new subfolder in my cloud drive, defamation oct21. I uploaded the 3 files. They thought they were invisible. They were wrong. They were just sloppy. My personal phone vibrated, a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, this is Noah from 14B. The guy upstairs. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. I heard the commotion on Saturday. The guy yelling. Sounded like he hit the door. My fingers were trembling slightly as I typed back. Hi, Noah. I'm okay. Thank you for checking. It was an escalated family issue. It's handled. A new message popped up instantly. Good. Glad you're safe. Just wanted to give you a heads up, in case you need it. I'm an Enterprise ET. I help the building association set up the security system. Our hallway cameras don't just record video, they record high-fidelity audio. The board keeps the files for 30 days. If you need a copy of what that guy was yelling, or the sound of him hitting the door, you have a right to request it for a police report. Audio. My God, I hadn't even considered it. A recording of Carter yelling, Mom said this is my house. Noah, that is, incredibly helpful. Thank you. I may need that. No problem, he replied. One more thing. You said family, the woman who was with him, the older guy. If they ever came into the building without you, they'd have to use the guest Wi-Fi in the lobby. Right? Philly Towers guest. I assume so. Why? That network isn't just open, per the HOA security policy. It's a logged captive portal. Anyone who uses it has to click Agree on a Terms of Service page. That click logs their device's MAC address, the IP address the router assigns them, and a timestamp. It's all required by law for public access points in a residential building. In case of illegal activity, the logs are kept by the building manager. I stared at the text, a logged captive portal. Noah, you're brilliant. Nah, I just hate bad security. Good luck. I was already out of my chair. I grabbed my keys, my phone, and the printed FTC Affidavit Gray PDF. I went to the building manager's office on the mezzanine level. Maria, the manager, looked up as I entered. Eloise, hi. Everything okay? Hi, Maria. Actually, no. I laid the affidavit on her desk. I am the victim of identity theft and attempted fraud. It escalated on Saturday morning. I had 3 individuals attempt to force entry into my apartment. You may have heard a disturbance. Maria's eyes widened. I heard there was some shouting. One of them, Carter Gray, physically assaulted the door. I have video, and I'm filing a formal security complaint with the building. I'm also here to request 2 pieces of documentation for my legal file. Maria leaned forward. All business now. What do you need? First, I need the elevator access log for all guest keycards and floor-to-floor activity for Saturday, October 19th, between 8 a.m. and noon. Easy, she said, turning to her computer. Second, I said, I need the guest Wi-Fi access log for the lobby network for the same time frame. Also easy, she typed, clicked, and the printer in the corner whirred. Here is the elevator log. I scanned the page. My heart leaped. 8:09 a.m. Elevator 2. Guest access L. Gray. Floor 12. 8:16 a.m. Elevator 2. Floor 12. Lobby L. A 7-minute gap. The exact duration of their assault on my door. But there was more. 8:44 a.m. Elevator 1. Guest access L. Gray. Lobby L. 9:12 a.m. Elevator 1. Lobby L. Ground floor exit. She had left, and then she had come back. She was in the lobby, alone, from 8:44 a.m. until 9:12 a.m. And here's the Wi-Fi log, Maria said, handing me the second sheet. I ran my finger down the timestamps. 8:45:01 a.m. Device connect. MAC ID XX A4129B. Device name, Lorraine's iPhone 13. IP, assigned 192.168.4.101. Status access. Granted. I pointed to the entry. Can you confirm this is the public IP address for that user session? Maria tapped a few more keys. Yep, during that session. That device's external IP address was routed through our public portal, which is a long string of numbers. I looked at my phone. I went to the defamation folder. I opened the screenshot for Concerned Customer 12. At the bottom of my browser's screenshot, in the metadata bar I had captured, was the timestamp posted Saturday, Octa 19, 8:51 a.m. She had left my door, gone down to the lobby, logged onto the free Wi-Fi, and posted the first fake review. She was sitting right there, in the lobby, launching the attack on my business while the sound of Carter's shoulder hitting my door was still echoing in the hallway. I looked at the third review again. Mark P. Philly. Posted this morning, Monday, at 9:05 a.m. I checked the elevator log again. Lorraine, in the lobby, from 8:44 to 9:12, she had posted both reviews from my own building. Maria, I need certified copies of these. You got it? As I was walking back to the elevator, my personal phone lit up. A Facebook notification. Carter had tagged me. I clicked. It was a public post. It's sad when you do everything for family, and all they do is betray you. Some people get a little success and forget who helped them, and then try to stab you in the back. I'm just trying to live my life, but I guess I'm the bad guy for wanting a fresh start. So much for loyalty. Betrayed family drama. Sometimes the good guy loses. The performative victimhood, the vague, plausibly deniable accusation, it was my mother's signature, written in my brother's clumsy hand. I took a screenshot. I saved the URL. I uploaded it to the folder. Carter Post Octo21.png. This was the evidence I needed. The direct link, the timeline, the motive, the execution. The high of the discovery didn't last. When I got back to my office, the red light on my desk phone was blinking. 2 voicemails. The first was from Mr. Henderson, the boutique hotel client. His voice was cool, distant. Eloise, it's Robert Henderson. I'm going to have to pause our design contract indefinitely. I was doing my due diligence this morning, and frankly, your online reviews are a disaster. We can't affiliate our brand with a business that has reports of instability and deceptive practices. We're pulling the offer. My heart sank. That was a $60,000 contract. The second call was from a residential client, the Millers. Hi, Eloise. We saw the new reviews on your Google page. We're very concerned. We're going to have to withdraw our retainer. I'm so sorry. But we can't take the risk. That was another $15,000. Gone. This wasn't just about my home anymore. They were taking the food off my table. They were killing the business I had bled for. Rage, cold and pure. Replace the fear. I was done reacting. I was done defending. It was time to attack. I didn't call Google. I didn't respond to the reviews. I opened my email and drafted a message. Not to Google's support desk, but to their legal department. I used a template I found in a forum for business owners who had been slandered. To Google Legal Compliance. Subject defamation and libel. Coordinated harassment. Request for immediate takedown pursuant to FTC. Affidavit. I attached the FTC report. I attached the screenshots. I attached the Wi-Fi logs. I attached the elevator logs. I attached the timeline. I laid out the entire conspiracy in 3 clear, bulleted paragraphs. But I knew this was a long shot. This was a machine. I needed a person. I needed a weapon. I opened my web browser. I searched for Sloan Whitaker, Esquire. Sloan was a legend in the Philadelphia business community. She didn't handle divorce. She didn't handle wills. She specialized in defamation, digital impersonation, and corporate reputation warfare. Her website was minimalist and terrifying. I clicked Book a Consultation. I filled out the form. Name Eloise Gray. Opposing party Lorraine Gray. Carter Gray. Nature of dispute identity theft. Bank fraud. HELOC. Coordinated digital defamation. Tortious interference. File upload. Click to add. Evidence Eloise Gray Octo 19. Zip. I paid the $400 consultation fee. I was scheduled for the next day. I had built my fortress. I had gathered my evidence. Now, I was finally hiring an army. The consultation with Sloan Whitaker was short, brutal, and affirming. She was a scalpel. She reviewed my evidence zip file, and her only comment was, "This is excellent. The link between the Wi-Fi log, the timestamp, and the review is a clean kill. The HELOC is federal. They are stupid." She advised me to wait, to let them make the next move, but to be ready. I didn't have to wait long. Wednesday evening. My phone buzzed. A text message from my father. "Family meeting. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., our house. It is mandatory that you attend." Mandatory. The word choice was so clinical, so corporate. It was so perfectly Lorraine. My father's texts were usually just okay or happy B-day. This was a summons, dictated by her, sent from his phone to bypass the block I had placed on hers and Carter's. They were trying to pull me back onto their home turf, back to the formal dining room where every bad decision of my childhood had been handed down as an executive order. They thought that room, that heavy mahogany table, still held power over me. They thought I was still a student. I texted back one word. Fine. I spent the rest of the night at my studio's high-capacity printer. I didn't bring the original white proof binder. That was now in a fireproof, waterproof safe. Instead, I brought the prosecution. I had purchased 3 identical, 2-inch black binders. They felt heavy, solemn. I printed 3 complete sets of the evidence. I used my studio's 32-pound high-gloss presentation paper, the kind I used for million-dollar pitches. The ink was sharp, the colors on the screenshots vivid. I organized each one with the precision of a contract. Binder 1, for Frank. I tabbed his in blue. I knew he was weakness, not active malice. His front section would be the property tab. Binder 2, for Carter, tabbed in green, for envy, and for the money he lusted after. His front section would be the defamation tab. Binder 3, for Lorraine, tabbed in bright, violent red, for the fraud, for the HELOC tab. Each binder was identical in its contents. I just changed the order to emphasize their specific sin. Tab. A property, the deed, the 9 years of mortgage statements, the property tax receipts, my signature, and mine alone, on every page. Tab B, fraud, the FTC affidavit, the email from Liberty First Bank, the official cancellation letter, the call log with Brenda. Tab C, defamation, the screenshots of the 1-star reviews, the screenshot of Carter's public Facebook post, the elevator logs, the lobby Wi-Fi logs, the certified, time-stamped connection logs from Maria. I put the 3 binders into my heavy leather client tote. It was weighted with facts. I arrived at their house at 7 o'clock exactly. I didn't use my old key. The one I was sure was still on my ring. I rang the doorbell. Frank opened it. He looked tired. Smaller than he had at the restaurant. His eyes were full of a weak, pleading apology. "Eloise," he said, as if I were a distant acquaintance. "Frank," I replied, my voice neutral. The scene was exactly as I had pictured it. The stage was set. We were in the formal dining room, the room reserved for holidays and catastrophic news. The chandelier was dimmed to a forgiving, theatrical glow. My father, Frank, sat at the head of the table, the patriarch, the judge, my mother. Lorraine sat at his right hand, spine rigid, hands clasped on the table. She was wearing pearls. She looked like she was chairing a hostile charity board meeting. Carter was slumped in his usual seat, staring at his phone, his thumb flicking endlessly. A nervous tick. He didn't look up. They had left my old chair empty. Opposite Carter, I did not sit down. "Thank you for arranging this meeting," I said. My voice was the one I used for client presentations, calm, measured, and projecting to the back of the wall. 3 heads snapped up. I had their full attention. I walked to the table. I placed my tote on the floor. I pulled out the 3 black binders. Thud. I placed the first binder, the blue-tabbed one, on the polished wood in front of Frank. Thud. I placed the second, green-tabbed binder in front of Carter. His thumb stopped moving. Thud. I placed the third binder, the red-tabbed one, directly in front of Lorraine. "What is this?" Lorraine demanded, her hand hovering over the cover as if it might be hot. "Documentation," I said. "Since we are clearly having a business meeting about assets, fraud, and tortious interference, I've prepared the necessary materials for all stakeholders. Please open your binder." Frank, ever the obedient one, opened his. Carter and Lorraine stared at me, a flicker of uncertainty in their eyes. Then, reluctantly, they opened theirs. The first page in every single binder was the same, the letter from Liberty First Bank, on official bank letterhead, confirming the cancellation of the fraudulent home equity line of credit application, file number 77091B44A, and the opening of a formal fraud investigation. I watched Frank's face go gray as he read it. He actually paled. What is this?" he stammered, looking at Lorraine. "That," I said, "is a federal crime. Please turn to tab B, page 1. I didn't move. I stood at the end of the table, like a prosecutor addressing a jury box. Page 1 is the timeline. It begins Friday night, at Mariner's table, with the verbal threat to seize my property. It continues to Saturday at 8:11 a.m., with the attempted forced entry, which I have on video and, as I've since learned, high-fidelity audio from the hallway camera. It continues to Saturday at 8:14 a.m., with the discovery of the fraudulent HELOC, and it concludes, for now, on Monday morning, with the coordinated defamation campaign. "This is ridiculous," Lorraine hissed, but her eyes were scanning the pages, her practiced confidence wavering. "Let's ask some questions," I continued, my voice level. "We can treat this like testimony. Page 2. Exhibit HELOC application. Question: who used my social security number, which you kept from my FAFSA forms 13 years ago, to apply for a loan in my name?" I looked at Lorraine. "The bank has the digital submission, the contact name listed on the application. The one who spoke to the loan officer is Lorraine Gray. That is a no on the... Was this a stranger box?" Frank looked at his wife. "Lorraine, you applied for a loan." His voice was a shocked whisper. "I was securing the family asset," she snapped, the mask slipping. "Please turn to tab A." "Frank," I said gently. "Property." "Those are my mortgage statements. 9 years of them. Can you find your signature? Can you find Lorraine's or Carter's? Can you find a single payment made by anyone other than Eloise Gray? No. You will, however, find my signature on every single check, on every single page. It is not a family asset. It is my asset." Frank fumbled with the pages, the thick stack of my financial history. He looked small. "Now," I said, turning my gaze to my brother. "Carter, please turn to tab C, defamation." He flinched. He finally looked up from his phone. "Page 1. Philly Design Lover 88. Page 2. Mark P. Philly. Page 3. Concerned Customer 12. All 1-star reviews, all using the same keywords, unstable. Deceptive. Cancelled. Strange, isn't it? Now look at page 4. On page 4, I had placed a screenshot of his public Facebook post, the one calling me a traitor who stabs people in the back. "You'll see a Venn diagram I prepared on page 5, I said. Comparing the keywords from your post with the keywords in the reviews, it's a very tight cluster. Carter, a jury would call that motive and coordination." Carter's face was white. He was a terrible bluffer. "But the best part," I said, "is page 6, the lobby Wi-Fi logs from my building. It shows one Lorraine's iPhone 13 logging on at 8:45 a.m. on Saturday, and page 7 shows the timestamp of the first review. Concerned Customer 12, posted at 8:51 a.m., while you, Lorraine, were sitting in my lobby, having just been party to a forced entry attempt. I was just checking my email," Lorraine said, her voice rising. "And page 8, I said, ignoring her, "is the elevator log. It shows you leaving and then returning to the lobby. You weren't fleeing. You were regrouping to launch the next phase of the attack. You are sloppy." The room was dead silent. The only sound was Frank's ragged breathing. And then, right on cue, the tears. Lorraine's face crumpled. The pearls, the straight spine, it all dissolved. She put her face in her hands. "I did it for my family," she sobbed, the words thick and wet. "I did it for my son. He needs a start. You have so much. Eloise, you always have. Why can't you sacrifice? Why can't you just help your brother? We are your family." The performance was magnificent. It was the one that had worked on me for 31 years. The guilt, the shame, the appeal to a greater good that always involved me giving something up. I just watched her. I felt nothing. The well of my guilt was dry. I waited for the sobs to subside. "No," I said. She stopped. Her head came up. Her eyes were wet, but her mouth was hard. The tears were already drying. The performance had failed. "No," I repeated. "That is not a legal defense. For the family, doesn't stop a federal indictment. He needed a start. Doesn't undo wire fraud. The emotional blackmail is over. The manipulation is over." I looked at all 3 of them, my gaze landing on each in turn. "This is the end," I said. "This is not a negotiation. This is a cease and desist. I have an attorney. Her name is Sloane Whitaker. She specializes in this. She called your attempts stupid." I pointed to the binders. Those are your copies. My attorney has the originals, as does my Aunt Rose, as do 2 other secure servers. If anything happens to me, the files are released. I walked to the door. I put my hand on the knob. Here is the line in the sand, I said, my voice dropping. If I receive one more text, one more review, one more phone call that is not from a lawyer if you set foot in my building, or contact my clients, or so much as type my name on the internet, I will file the police report. I will pursue the federal charges for the HELOC, and I will file for a restraining order against all 3 of you, and I will win. This is your one and only warning. I opened the door. Eloise, wait, Frank said, his voice broken. Don't do this to us. I looked back at them, the 3 of them, frozen at the table, staring at the black binders, 3 indictments. I'm not doing this to you, I said. You did this to yourselves. You just never thought I'd keep the receipts. I left. I walked out of the house I grew up in and didn't look back, leaving the binders, my testimony, sitting right in the middle of the table. Leaving their house, I felt a grim, hollow victory. I had delivered the binders. I had drawn the line. That night, I expected silence. I expected a ceasefire. Born out of their fear of prosecution, I was right about the silence. My phone stayed dark. No texts, no calls. The harassment stopped. But the bomb they had planted was still ticking. I had won the personal war, but the professional one was just beginning. The 3 fake reviews, the 1-star ratings, were still live. My cease and desist had stopped Lorraine and Carter from posting more, but it didn't remove what was already done. Sloan had been clear. Google and Yelp are platforms, not publishers, she'd explained, her voice devoid of sympathy. They are protected by Section 230. We can send legal notices, but they move at the speed of a glacier. They will not take them down just because you say so. Even with your evidence, the machine doesn't care about your truth. She was right. The machine was indifferent. I had won the battle, but my business was bleeding out in a public alley. Harborline Studios' Google business rating, once a pristine 4.9 stars, had plummeted to a catastrophic 1.6. It was a digital plague sign. The calls started on Thursday. The ones that got through, most new clients, I knew, were seeing the 1.6 and not even bothering to call at all. First, the Rittenhouse Historical Society project. A $20,000 consultation contract to restore their public-facing rooms. Eloise, the chairman said, his voice full of practiced regret. We've seen the feedback on your business profile. Our board has a fiduciary duty to avoid reputational risk. We have to postpone our engagement. Postpone, the corporate word for dead. Then, the micro-hotel project, my biggest contract to date, the one that was going to be my breakthrough. The investors are spooked, Eloise, the developer told me over the phone. They see fraud and unstable, and they're pulling their funding until you resolve your legal issues. The legal issues are theirs, I had argued, my voice tight. I'm the victim. I know, he said, and I knew he believed me. But the bank doesn't care. They see the reviews. The board is afraid of litigation. They're out. 3 major contracts, 2 lost, 1 indefinitely paused. A total of over $100,000 in projected revenue vanished. My pipeline for the next 6 months was empty. My family had been surgical. They couldn't steal the condo, so they had stolen its foundation. They had stolen the income I used to pay for it. The silence from their side was no longer a victory. It was a siege. Every night became a ritual of futility. I would sit at my laptop, the blue light burning my retinas. I would log into the Google business portal. I would find the 3 reviews. I would click Report Review. Why are you reporting this? I would select Conflict of Interest. Please provide more details. I would upload the FTC affidavit. I would upload the Wi-Fi logs. I would upload the timeline. I would write a concise, clear, legally sound paragraph explaining the coordinated, fraudulent attack. I would hit Submit, and every morning I would get the same email, sent at 3 a.m. from a no-reply address. Dear business owner, thank you for your report. We have reviewed the content and have found that it does not violate our policies. The review will remain visible. The machine was automated. The machine was faceless. The machine was siding with the liars. I did the same for Yelp. I sent faxes. I sent certified letters. The result was the same. Automated rejection. The money started to run out. The $60,000 check I was expecting from the hotel project was gone. The advance from the Rittenhouse project was gone. I looked at my business account. The emergency fund I had so proudly built, the one with 6 months of operating capital, was now facing a total lack of income. I went into austerity mode. I called my material supplier. Hi, Jim. I need to postpone the order for the Italian marble indefinitely. I called the leasing agent for the new warehouse space. I have to pull my application. I can't take on new overhead. I cut my Adobe subscription. I canceled my trade magazine deliveries. I started making my coffee at home. Each cancellation was a small, quiet failure. Each one was a victory for Lorraine, my suppliers. The men and women I'd worked with for years were kind. We know your work, Eloise, Jim had said. We know you're good for it, but our hands are tied. The partners, they see the online stuff. They're afraid of the risk. There was that word again, risk. I was now a risk. The most reliable, over-prepared, obsessively organized designer in Philadelphia was a risk. One night, sitting on my office floor, I looked at the mortgage payment confirmation for November. It had cleared, but the business account was now dangerously low. I had enough for December's payment, but not enough for the property taxes due in January, and definitely not enough for the quarterly payment to Sloan Whitaker's retainer. I put my head in my hands. I thought about the condo, the beautiful, clean lines, the morning light. The thing I had fought so hard for, and I thought, let them have it. The thought was so clear, so seductive. Just let it go. Sell the condo, pay off the mortgage, dissolve the business, move to Chicago and stay with Aunt Rose. Disappear. Let them have this cursed city, this cursed apartment. Let them win. I would not lose. I would not let them break the last thing I had built. I stood up. I went to my laptop. I was not going to play their game anymore. I was not going to beg the machine to believe me. I would build my own. I bought a new domain name, https google.com/search QS Eloise Gray Design. Simple, clean, mine. I bought a minimalist, high-end portfolio template. I spent the next 48 hours, fueled by coffee and rage, rebuilding my business from scratch, entirely offline. I wrote case studies for every major project I'd ever completed. I uploaded the professional photos, the blueprints, the 3D renders. I included client testimonials, but only from the ones I had emailed personally, the ones whose letters of recommendation were saved as PDFs. There would be no public-facing, anonymous review system. There would be no star ratings. There would just be the work, the proof. My phone buzzed. It was Noah, from upstairs. Saw your new website. Looks sharp, but the landing page is weak. You need to build trust faster. Thanks, I'm not a web developer. Noah. I know. I'll be down in 5. Bring coffee. He came down with his laptop and sat on my sofa. In 20 minutes, he had rebuilt the About page. He added a section called Verifications. He uploaded my certifications from the American Society of Interior Designers. He embedded my Best of Philly award from 2 years ago. He created a clean, simple landing page that had no blog, no comments, no review section. It was a fortress. Turn off the comments, he said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Don't give them a place to speak. This is your house. You control the narrative. He was right. The next day, I wrote a letter. I composed it like a legal brief, but with the heart of a designer. Dear past client, it began. You know my work. You know my standards. My business's public reputation has been the target of a fraudulent, coordinated attack by a third party. I am not asking you to fight this battle with me. I am asking you to judge me on this, the work. I linked to the new portfolio. I am building a new private clientele. If you or anyone in your network needs design services, I am now available for consultations, judged only by the merit of my designs. I sent it to 15 of my best, happiest former clients. 4 wrote back within a day. Eloise, we've been hearing whispers. It's awful. Of course we'll help. I'm forwarding your new site to my brother-in-law at the architectural firm. I'm so sorry this is happening. The sunroom you designed is still our favorite room. Let me know what you need. Good for you. Don't let them win. It wasn't a flood of work. It was a trickle, but it was my trickle. Then, a call from Chicago. Aunt Rose. Eloise, your folder is terrifying and brilliant. I have a friend. He's a real estate lawyer in Philly, an old colleague, very private, very wealthy. He and his wife just bought a monstrosity on the main line and they hate it. They need a designer who is, and I quote, discreet and not a social media idiot. I sent them your new website. He's going to call you. His name is Arthur. Arthur called. He didn't ask about Google. He asked about my philosophy on load-bearing walls. He asked about my suppliers for reclaimed wood. At the end of the 30-minute call, he said, "This is good. I'll have my bank wire the retainer. We will pay you in 4 installments, upon completion of each design milestone. Is that acceptable? Milestone payments, not a lump sum." But it was secure. It was real. "Yes," I said, my voice thick. "Yes, that is very acceptable." When the first wire transfer hit, I didn't go shopping. I didn't celebrate. I sat at my laptop. I opened my bank accounts. I made a transfer from the business account to my personal account. The exact amount of my mortgage payment. The exact amount of my property tax installment. The exact amount of my quarterly utilities. I paid the bills. I kept the condo safe. The rest went into a savings account marked Sloan. I was alive. I was treading water. But I was breathing. That night, for the first time in weeks, I wasn't just appealing to the machine. I was building something new. I opened a web browser. Philly Young Builders Summit. It was a program for entrepreneurs under 35 who had survived their first 5 years. I was 31. I had survived. Barely. The application was simple. What is the biggest challenge you've faced as a small business owner in Philadelphia? I stared at the blank text box. I thought about the 1-star reviews. I thought about the HELOC. I thought about Lorraine's face in the hallway. I typed, "Surviving a targeted, fraudulent defamation campaign designed to destroy my business and rebuilding my reputation from zero, offline, using only the proof of the work." I hit submit. Late that night, I stood in my living room, the city lights twinkling outside. I thought about the application. I thought about what I would say if they, by some miracle, accepted me. If they gave me a microphone, I started to practice. "My name is Eloise Gray," I whispered to the empty, silent room. "And I am the owner of a business that was almost murdered. Let me tell you how I saved its life. Let me tell you about the receipts." Sloan Whitaker did not waste my money on theatrical gestures. She was a weapon, and she aimed at the data. "Your binders are for a jury, Eloise," she told me during our strategy call. Her voice clipped and precise. "A jury is emotional. A judge just wants the logs. Data is perishable. People get scared. They delete their accounts. They wipe their hard drives. We are not letting them." She didn't file the lawsuit. She filed for emergency data preservation. Subpoenas and litigation hold notices went out, not to my family, but to the giants. Google, Liberty First Bank, Yelp, Comcast, the IT provider for the Nexus Launch startup incubator where Carter worked. It was a digital net, thrown wide and silent, to preserve the electronic breadcrumbs they thought they had swept away. "Now," Sloan said, "we wait for the metadata. They've given us the what. The data will give us the who and the how." It took 2 weeks. 2 agonizing weeks where I worked 14-hour days on Arthur's project, rebuilding my business 1 milestone payment at a time, while the 1.6-star rating on Google continued to hang over my professional life like a digital guillotine. Then, Sloan called. "I have the fish," she said. "Get to my office." Her conference room was all glass and steel, overlooking Rittenhouse Square. She didn't offer pleasantries. She pointed to a 70-inch monitor displaying a complex spreadsheet. "They are not just stupid. Eloise," she said, her voice holding the closest thing to admiration I'd ever heard from her. "They are provably stupid. Let's review the chain of custody." On the screen, she pulled up the logs from Google. Review 1, Concerned Customer 12, posted Saturday, October 19th, at 8:51 a.m. We already had your building's Wi-Fi log for this one, but the data from Google is the slam dunk. She highlighted a row of data. Google provides the device ID. A specific iPhone 13. A device which, in the last 6 months, has also accessed the reviewer account, the Philly Design Lover 88 account, and most helpfully, has been used to log into an Apple ID registered to Lorraine Greacloud.com. I let out the breath I was holding. It was a digital fingerprint, a perfect, clean match. She hadn't even bothered to use a burner phone. She had used the phone I paid for on her family plan for 3 years, before I finally split the accounts. "It gets better," Sloan said, clicking to the next slide. Review 3 Philly Design Lover 88. The 1-star review posted that Monday morning. The IP address wasn't your building lobby. It was a public IP. "A different location," I said, my heart sinking. "We can't prove it was her." "Oh, we can." Sloan smiled, a thin, terrifying smile. "The IP address is registered to the Perk Pastry Cafe, the one on the ground floor of your building. She was smart enough not to go back to your lobby, but too lazy to walk more than 50 feet. We subpoenaed the cafe's security footage for that morning, and what do we find?" She clicked, and a grainy, time-stamped video file played. There, at 9:32 a.m. on Monday, October 21st, was Lorraine Gray, in a beige trench coat, ordering a latte. She sat down at a small table. The review was posted, according to Google's log, at 9:41 a.m., from the IP address registered to that cafe. "She sat there," I whispered, "drank a coffee, and tried to end my career." "She did," Sloan said, "and she gave us the video receipt. Now, for the boy." She switched from the Google data to the logs from Liberty First Bank. "The HELOC application. This is the federal charge. The bank's IT department confirmed the initial online application was submitted on Thursday, October 17th, at 2:17 p.m., 48 hours before they showed up at your door." "From their house." "No, not that stupid. The originating IP address wasn't residential. It was a commercial fiber line registered to Nexus Launch, the Fishtown startup incubator." Sloan's expression was grim. "Our subpoena to the incubator's IT provider was the final piece. Their firewall logs are meticulous. They show a device connected to their guest Wi-Fi at that exact time, accessing the Liberty First Bank portal, the device name, as registered by the firewall." She clicked again, on the screen. In plain text, device Carter's MacBook Pro. He had used his friend's co-working space, sat on a beanbag chair, and used my social security number to try and steal my home's equity. He hadn't just left a fingerprint. He'd left his driver's license, his social media handle, and a signed confession. "We have them," I said. It wasn't a question. "We have them on wire fraud, identity theft, defamation per se, and tortious interference with business contracts," Sloan corrected. "We have the who, the what, the when, the where, and the how. Now, we send the demand." Sloan's demand letter was not a request. It was a 10-page invoice for their crimes. It was sent via certified mail to Frank, Lorraine, and Carter, individually. It laid out the evidence in forensic detail: the Apple ID, the cafe video, the firewall log. It cited the specific state and federal statutes they had violated, and then it listed the price. Sloan had me itemize every cent. Lost contracts: Henderson, Miller, Rittenhouse, $125,000. Reputational damage and lost future earnings based on 1.6-star rating, $50,000. Legal fees incurred to date, $10,000. Total economic damages due, $185,000. The conditions for avoiding an immediate lawsuit were iron. 1. Immediate, full payment of the $185,000. 2. A public retraction and correction, to be posted by the Lorena Gray accounts on every platform where a fake review was left. 3A. Legally binding, permanent no-contact agreement, barring them from ever contacting me, my clients, my vendors, or my place of business again. They have 72 hours to have their legal counsel contact me, Sloan said, handing the thick envelopes to her paralegal. This will not be a pleasant evening for the Gray family. The certified mail tracking showed delivered on Thursday at 4:01 p.m. The silence was deafening. I worked, I ate, I tried to sleep. At 9:05 p.m., my personal phone rang. The caller ID just showed Frank Gray. I stared at it. My heart was a drum. This was it. The crack. I let it ring twice. I opened the audio recording software on my laptop, the one I now had for client calls. I clicked record, and then I answered the phone. Hello? Eloise. His voice was a ghost. It wasn't the weak, placating voice of the enabler. It was the shattered, broken voice of a man who had just seen the bill. Oh, God, Eloise, we got a letter from your lawyer. I know. $185,000, he stammered. Eloise, this is insane. This is your mother. I said nothing. I let the silence hang, let the recording software capture the dead air. He choked, a small, wet sound. I saw the things in the letter, the IP addresses, the bank, the Nexus launch thing. Eloise. His voice dropped to a whisper. I didn't know. Honey, I swear to God, I didn't know. I thought it was just the apartment. I thought she was just, your mother, being dramatic. I didn't know about the loan. I didn't know about the reviews. I didn't know it had gone this far. I didn't know. The anthem of the innocent bystander. The prayer of the man who stood by the elevator. You knew, I said, my voice as cold and flat as the steel on Sloane's desk. You knew she was coming to my home to force me to sign papers. You stood by the elevator. Frank, you were the lookout. She gets these ideas. And you let her. I finished. You're right. You didn't know the details. Because you didn't want to. Now you have them. They're in your binder. And they are in Sloane Whitaker's demand letter. Please, he begged. And I could hear him crying now. Don't do this. It's Lorraine. It will ruin her. It will ruin the family. She ruined my business. Frank, I said, the words coming out hard, like chips of ice. She tried to steal my identity and my home. This is the consequence. You have 72 hours. Talk to your lawyer. Do not call this number again. I hung up on my father's sob. I stopped the recording. I saved the file. Dad call Octa24 MP3. I uploaded it to the evidence folder. In a new subdirectory, post-demand contact. As I sat there, my hands shaking, a text message came through. It was from Noah. Hey, I got a preservation request from your lawyer for the building's server logs. She's a shark. I love it. I typed back. She's thorough. She is, he replied. But I've testified in data fraud cases. The logs are clean. But a judge is 70 years old. They don't know what a MAC address is, and they don't know what a firewall log really proves. A new message popped up. I'm writing up a forensic memo, a one-page, explain like I'm 5 document that translates firewall log and Apple ID into they are guilty as sin. No charge. I hate bullies. A tear I hadn't realized I was holding back rolled down my cheek. The next day, a PDF arrived in my inbox. Forensic Memo Gray versus Gray. It was a masterpiece. It had diagrams. It explained, in the simplest possible terms, how the data proved, beyond any doubt, that Lorraine and Carter were the attackers. I uploaded it to the cloud. I looked at the folder, the truth pack. It was complete. Time. The full timeline of the coordinated attack. Device Lorraine's iPhone 13. Carter's MacBook Pro. Location. My lobby. The Perk Pastry. The Nexus Launch Incubator. Motive. The video at my door. Carter's public Facebook post. Damages. The lost contract emails. The bank statements. Confession. The dad call. MP3 file. The 72 hours were almost up. The pack was sealed. The evidence was digital, undeniable, and absolute. The weeks that followed were a quiet, brutal grind. I worked. I poured every ounce of my energy into Arthur's project, the mainline monstrosity, finding a strange peace in the logic of blueprints and the tactile reality of fabric swatches. I paid my mortgage. I transferred money to Sloane's trust account. I was surviving, but I wasn't living. The 1.6-star rating was a digital shadow, following me everywhere. Then, 2 emails arrived on the same Tuesday morning, one right after the other. They would, in tandem, set the entire next phase in motion. The first was from a no-reply address. Subject, your application to the Philly Young Builders Summit. Dear Ms. Gray, we received over 300 applications for this year's summit. The board was exceptionally moved by your proposed topic. We are pleased to formally invite you to be a keynote speaker. We believe our members would greatly benefit from your talk, Surviving a Digital Smear Campaign Rebuilding When Your Reputation is Bombed. I read the email 3 times. A keynote speaker. They hadn't just accepted me, they had given me the main stage. They had seen my challenge not as a liability, but as a case study. They were giving me a platform, a microphone, and an audience of 500 local entrepreneurs. They wanted to hear my story. A hot, unfamiliar feeling bloomed in my chest. It wasn't just survival, it was opportunity. Then, the second email arrived. This one from Sloane. Subject movement. Eloise, they've hired counsel, a bottom feeder from Delaware County named Sal Petrucci. He's just sent a feeler. They are requesting informal mediation before we file. This is not a coincidence. Your summit announcement went live on the PYB website this morning. They know you're about to get a microphone. Call me. I called her. He's scared, I said. He's Sal Petrucci, she corrected. He's cheap. This is Lorraine trying to buy her way out without spending any money. His offer is exactly what you'd expect. What is it? They are willing to agree to the no-contact order. In exchange, you agree to a permanent, binding, mutual non-disclosure. You never speak of this again. You never speak to them again. We all just let this unfortunate family matter go. I waited. And nothing, Sloane said. That's it? Nothing. I was stunned. No compensation, no retraction of the reviews. 0 compensation. And his letter explicitly states, my clients, while wishing to de-escalate, admit no wrongdoing and will not be slandered by any public retractions, which would imply guilt. They want you to sign a gag order while the 1.6-star rating continues to murder your business. It was the classic Lorraine, all stick, no carrot. She wasn't offering peace. She was demanding my silence. She wanted to muzzle me before I could walk on that stage. Tell him no, I said. I like a no, Sloane said. Give me specifics. Tell him any agreement is dead on arrival without 2 things. First, full, measured, and non-negotiable compensation for the $185,000 of documented damages. Second, a public, verifiable retraction and removal of every fraudulent review, the truth, and the money. We don't get one without the other. Good, Sloane said. I'll send the rejection. I expect this will make them reactive. She was right. The reaction came less than a day later, but not from Lorraine. It came from Carter. Sal Petrucci sent a new letter, this one full of bluster. My client, Mr. Carter Gray, formally withdraws from mediation, as he had no part in this dispute. He was merely a bystander to a family disagreement. He has no knowledge of any fraudulent loan, and he certainly has no knowledge of any reviews. Your attempts to link him to this are libelous. and he is considering his own legal action against Ms. Gray for harassment. Sloane forwarded me the email with a single line of her own. He's trying to jump off the ship, not realizing his feet are chained to the anchor. What a moron. I looked at the Nexus launch firewall log in my truth pack. Device Carter's MacBook Pro. He could run, but the data would follow him. Then, the crack, the one I had been waiting for. My personal phone rang. Frank Gray. I picked up. Recorder already running. Hello? Eloise? His voice was low. Hurried. I got the new letter. The one from Petrucci. About Carter. I've seen it. It's not right. He's lying. Carter's lying. Your mother is making him lie. This has gone too far. He was panicking. The thought of Carter committing perjury was, for some reason, the one bridge his weak morality couldn't cross. I need to see you, he whispered. Not with her. Alone. Please, I just want to talk. I looked at my wall. I looked at the truth pack binder I now kept on my desk. No, I said. Please, Eloise, as your father. I will meet you, but not alone. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., at my attorney's office. Sloane Whitaker. You come alone, or you don't come at all. A note-taker will be present. He hesitated. A lawyer's office. That's the only place I will ever speak to you again. Frank. Okay, he said, his voice small. 10 a.m. He showed up. He was wearing his beige windbreaker, looking like a man who had been wandering in the wilderness. He sat in Sloane's terrifyingly sterile conference room, the 70-inch monitor dark on the wall. Sloane, myself, and a paralegal who introduced herself as the on-record stenographer. Frank, Sloane began, you are here of your own volition. You are not under oath, but this meeting is being transcribed. Do you understand? Yes, he whispered. My client requested this meeting, he said, looking at me. I want to see the evidence. The real evidence, not just the letters, the things you said you had. Sloane looked at me. I nodded. This was it. Very well, Sloane said. She clicked a mouse. The monitor lit up. It wasn't the spreadsheet. It was Noah's forensic memo. This, Sloane said, is a layperson's translation of the data we have acquired. Let's start with the HELOC. This is the log from the Nexus launch firewall. It shows Carter's MacBook Pro. She walked him through it, the IP address, the timestamp, the bank portal. Frank just stared, his face ashen. Next, Sloane said. The reviews. She didn't show him the spreadsheet. She showed him the video, the grainy, black and white footage from Perk Pastry. She hit play. We watched Lorraine Gray, in perfect clarity, walk to the counter, order her latte, sit down, pull out her phone. Frank's hand went to his mouth. This is from 9:32 a.m. on Monday, Sloane narrated, her voice devoid of emotion. The review from Philly Design Lover 88 was posted from this cafe's IP address at 9:41 a.m. while she was sitting, right, there. We watched the woman on the screen, my mother, his wife, sip her coffee and type, her thumb moving rapidly. This, Sloane said, clicking to the next file, is the hallway footage from Saturday morning. The audio is high fidelity. She hit play. We heard Carter's voice, distorted by rage. Mom said this is my house. We heard the sickening whump as his shoulder hit the door. We heard my voice, shaking but clear. Get away from my door. I'm calling the police. We heard Lorraine's scoff. You would not embarrass this family. Sloane clicked the monitor off. The room plunged into silence. Frank sat there for a full minute. He didn't move. He just stared at the blank black screen. He looked old, decades older than he had at the restaurant. The passive, blithe ignorance had been ripped away, and the man underneath was hollow. I didn't know, he whispered, to the dark screen. You do now, Sloane said. He finally turned, his eyes red. He looked at me, really looked at me. She told me you were being difficult, that you were Unstable. After that dinner, she said she was worried about you. The reviews said I was unstable, too, I said. It's her favorite word. He put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook. The paralegal's fingers never stopped typing. What do you want? He finally asked, his voice muffled. Sloane slid a single piece of paper and a pen across the table. This is a witness statement, she said. It affirms 3 facts. 1. You, Frank Gray, have no financial, legal, or equitable claim to the property at 1204 Locust Street. 2. You did not, at any time, authorize or have knowledge of the fraudulent HELOC application. 3. You were present on October 19th when Carter Gray and Lorraine Gray were denied entry. Frank read it. He picked up the pen. He signed it. He pushed it back across the table. What? What happens now? He asked. Now, Sloane said, taking the paper. I am going to send Sal Petrucci our final draft for a settlement. You'll use this against her. I will use this, Sloane said. To end this, thank you for coming. Frank, the stenographer will see you out. He left. I didn't say goodbye. That afternoon, Sloane sent the new offer. It was a masterpiece of legal aggression. It attached Frank's signed, notarized statement as Exhibit A. It attached Noah's forensic memo as Exhibit B. It restated the $185,000 demand, and it added a new, non-negotiable term. A formal public apology. The draft is attached. It will be posted by Lorraine Gray from her personal Facebook account and from the reviewer accounts she created, on all platforms where the fraudulent reviews were posted. The post must be public and remain visible for no less than 90 days. The response from Sal Petrucci came in under an hour. My clients, Lorraine and Carter Gray, are appalled at this extortion. Your so-called evidence is circumstantial, and the statement from Mr. Gray was clearly coerced from a man under duress. This is a family matter, not a federal case. Ms. Gray will not be paying a single cent, nor will she be apologizing for being a concerned mother. We see your client's ridiculous demand, and we will be filing a countersuit for harassment, defamation, and alienation of affection. We will see you in court. Sloane forwarded the email to me. They are insane, I wrote back. Her reply was immediate. They are predictable. This is the part of the show where the villain screams before the final act. I've already replied. What did you say? My reply, in its entirety, was, see you in court. We'll be filing for a pretrial hearing this afternoon. A new notification popped up, a calendar invite. Pretrial hearing Gray v. Gray et al., Courtroom 3B, City Hall, December 10th, 9 a.m. It was real. We were going to trial. I looked at the date, December 10th. My keynote speech for the Philly Young Builders Summit was December 9th. One day after the other, 2 stages, 2 audiences. I opened the file for my speech, and right next to it, I opened the truth pack. I would need my notes for both. The morning of December 9th. I stood backstage, the murmur of 500 people settling into the convention center ballroom, a low, rolling hum. I adjusted the lapels of my blazer. It was a deep, uncompromising cobalt blue. My armor. My hand went to the microphone pack on my waistband. It was secure. And now, the announcer's voice boomed. A woman who embodies the resilience of this city. Please welcome the founder of Harborline Studio, our keynote speaker, Eloise Gray. I walked out. The light was blinding, a pure theatrical white. I stepped up to the podium, but I didn't hide behind it. I walked to the center of the stage, took the handheld microphone from its stand, and felt the familiar weight. It was solid. My hand was steady. Good morning, I said. My voice filled the room, amplified and clear. No shake, no tremor. My name is Eloise Gray, and 6 weeks ago, my business was almost murdered. A ripple of silence. No one was checking their phone. I am an interior designer. We live and die by our reputations. My Google rating was a 4.9. My business was growing. And then, in 24 hours, it was a 1.6. It was bombed, overnight, by a coordinated attack of one-star reviews. They used the same words: unstable, deceptive, fraud. I paused, looking across the sea of faces: entrepreneurs, builders, people who knew what a one-star review felt like. This attack, I continued, was not random. It was the second phase of a campaign that began 48 hours earlier, when I discovered a fraudulent six-figure home equity line of credit application that someone had filed in my name, against my property, using my social security number. The intake of breath in the room was audible. I am not here to talk about the who. I am here to talk about the how I survived. I'm here to talk about digital forensics, about the receipts. I'm here to tell you that a building's guest Wi-Fi log is evidence. A server firewall log is evidence. A time-stamped security camera feed from a coffee shop is evidence. And an Apple ID is a digital fingerprint. I spoke for 20 minutes. I laid out the tools, not the drama. I explained how I built a new, secure portfolio, how I separated my reputation from the public platforms that had failed to protect me. I did not name my family. I did not need to. I just called them the attackers. When I finished, there was a beat of pure silence, and then the applause. It wasn't polite. It was a roar. It washed over me, a wave of sound. People were standing, the men and women who had fought the same battles, the bad contracts, the difficult clients, the sleepless nights they understood. They were applauding the fight. I walked off the stage, my heart hammering, and 3 people were waiting for me by the steps. Ms. Gray, the first one said, handing me a card. John Evans, Evans Capital, LLC, were funding 3 boutique hotels in the next quarter. That was extraordinary. I want a quote for the full design package by end of day. Sarah Jenkins, the second woman said. Jenkins Development, we need to talk about our new residential tower. Your story is exactly the kind of resilience I want on my team. The third just shook my hand. My firm needs a redesign. I'll email you. I walked back to my seat, my hands full of business cards, the applause still ringing in my ears. I had just, in 20 minutes, replaced every dollar I had lost. The afternoon of December 10th, the lighting was the opposite, a sickly, buzzing fluorescent yellow. Courtroom 3B of City Hall was small, cramped, and smelled like stale coffee and old wool. I sat next to Sloan, my cobalt blazer now feeling like a target. They were across the aisle. Lorraine, in a severe gray suit, staring holes into the judge's bench. Sal Petrucci, her lawyer, shuffling papers, looking bored and cheap, and behind them, Carter. He was pale, sweating in the cold room. He kept looking at the exit. Frank was not with them. He was sitting on a separate bench, near the back, alone, my witness. All right, the judge, a sharp-eyed woman named Burns, said, her voice like gravel. Pre-trial, Gray versus Gray, et al. This is a hearing on the plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order and preliminary injunction. Ms. Whitaker, you're claiming identity theft, fraud, and defamation. That's a high bar for a pre-trial. What do you have? Sloan stood. Your Honor, we have more than a claim. We have a digital confession. We have the receipts. She placed the truth pack on the bailiff's desk. We have the certified IP logs from Google, matching the defendant Lorraine Gray's known Apple ID to the fraudulent reviewer accounts. We have the time-stamped security footage from the Perk Pastry Cafe, showing Mrs. Saye Gray at the location of the IP address, at the exact time the defamatory review was posted. Objection, Petrucci said, standing slowly. Circumstantial. Anyone could have used her phone. Someone could have been at the table with her. The judge frowned, a deep, annoyed crease. Someone used her phone, at a cafe, to log into her specific account, to defame her own daughter. Save the fairy tales for the jury. Mr. Petrucci, what about the loan? We have the firewall logs from the Nexus launch incubator, Your Honor, Sloane continued, her voice smooth. Showing the defendant Carter Gray's device. Carter's MacBook Pro, accessing the Liberty First Bank portal on October 17th, filing the application in Ms. Eloise Gray's name. That's a lie, Carter suddenly yelled from the gallery. Silence, the judge barked, banging her gavel. One more outburst like that and you'll be in contempt. Carter shrank back, his face going from white to green. Petrucci stood again. Your Honor, my client was simply naive. He let a friend use his laptop. He's a kid. He's generous. He's 30, Sloane said, not even looking at him. And the friend he'd be blaming is his own mother. The judge's frown deepened. I'm not impressed with this line of defense. Counsel, it's thin. We also have a sworn, notarized statement, Sloane said. From the defendant's husband, Mr. Frank Gray. The judge looked up. I see Mr. Gray is in the courtroom. Is he your witness? He is, Your Honor. Mr. Gray, the judge called. You signed a statement. Frank stood up, his voice shaking but clear. Yes, I did. Does that statement affirm you have no ownership stake in the property and that you did not authorize any loan application on behalf of your family? Lorraine turned, her eyes burning with fury, and stared at her husband. Frank looked at Lorraine, then at the judge. Yes, Your Honor, I signed it. I didn't contribute to the condo. It's Eloise's. I never gave anyone permission. This is... Lorraine shot to her feet, her voice a shriek. He's lying. I did it for my son. I just wanted what was fair. You can't do this. I am his mother. That's enough. The judge's gavel slammed down, the sound like a gunshot. Crack! Mrs. Gray, that is not a legal argument. It is not relevant. Sit down and be silent, or I will have you removed. Lorraine sat, her body rigid with fury, in the back row. I watched Carter. His phone had been buzzing in his lap. He looked down at it. I saw his face drain of all color. I saw his hand go to his chest. He was reading the email, the one from Nexus Launch, the one Sloane's subpoena had triggered, the one telling him that due to his misuse of company IT resources for fraudulent activities, his partnership was terminated. He had just lost his one and only dream. The judge sighed, rubbing her temples. I've seen enough. This isn't a family squabble. This is a targeted, malicious campaign. The plaintiff has met the burden of proof for this hearing. Crack, the gavel hit again. I am signing the temporary order. Lorraine Gray and Carter Gray are enjoined from any and all contact with the plaintiff. Eloise Gray, you will not call, text, email, or contact her place of business. You will not post about her on any social media platform. You will not come within 500 feet of her residence or her studio. The judge looked at Lorraine. And furthermore, I am ordering a temporary freeze on any attempt to alter the title or financial status of the property at 1204 Locust Street. The status quo is maintained. This court, not your family, will decide what happens next. The judge stood. We are done here. See you at trial. The hallway was a blur. Sloane was packing her briefcase. I stood, my legs shaking. This is an outrage. Lorraine was marching toward me, her face a mask of rage. Petrucci was trying to hold her back. This is not over. Eloise, you cannot do this to your family. We need to talk, as a family. I just looked at her, the woman who had tried to ruin me. I didn't say a word. I just turned my head slightly, pointed my chin at Sloane, who was now snapping her briefcase shut. Talk to my lawyer, I said. Sloane looked up at Lorraine, her eyes dead. My hourly rate is $900. Mrs. Gray, send me an email if you ever approach my client like that again. I will have you arrested for violating the order we just received. Do you understand me? Lorraine recoiled, as if she'd been slapped. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back at Frank, or at Carter, who was slumped on the bench, his head in his hands. I walked out of the courtroom. I walked out of City Hall, into the cold, bright December air. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text message. It was from the organizer of the Philly Young Builders Summit. Eloise, that was incredible. The board was talking. We are moving our HQ, and we're building a new 30,000 square foot co-working space for our members. We want you to design it. The contract is yours. I stood on the steps of the courthouse, the text message glowing. One hand held a court order protecting my past. The other held a contract that secured my future. The room was not a courtroom. It was worse. It was a judicial mediation room, a sterile beige box on the 7th floor, designed to be so boring it sucked the will to fight out of you. We were at separate, light gray laminate tables, Sloan and I at one, Lorraine, Frank, and a shell-shocked Carter at the other, flanked by their lawyer, Sal Petrucci. In the middle, at the head, sat the mediator. A retired judge. A court-provided digital audio recorder was on. Its small red light was the only warm color in the room. Ms. Whitaker, the mediator said, you presented the highest damages. The floor is yours. Sloan did not stand. She simply clicked the mouse. The large monitor on the wall, which had been dark, flickered to life. This won't be long, Sloan said, her voice cutting the silence. We are here because my client's business was subjected to a coordinated, malicious attack. This is the bill. The first slide was a simple, brutal invoice. It was titled, Economic Damages. It listed the lost contracts, one by one. Henderson $60,000. Miller $15,000. Rittenhouse $20,000. It listed reputational harm, goodwill loss, $50,000. It listed legal forensic fees to date $30,500. At the bottom, in a 72-point font, total $175,500. This is not a negotiation number, Sloan said. As Petrucci started to scoff, this is a receipt. This is the provable, documented, non-speculative cost of your client's actions. This is fantasy, Petrucci sputtered. You can't prove... Sloan clicked the mouse again. The next slide was titled, Technical Evidence. It was just a screenshot. Noah's forensic memo. Summarized. It was zoomed in on one line of a log. It showed an IP address. It showed a MAC address. The unique serial number of a specific device. It showed a timestamp, down to the nanosecond. And next to it, it showed the coordinates of the Perk Pastry Cafe. And above it, a line of text. Device Lorraine's iPhone 13. Action posted 1-star review. Philly design, Lover 88. Result match. That, Sloan said, her voice dropping, is the MAC address of Lorraine Gray's phone, logged by Google's server, tied to the review, originating from a location where we have her on video. This is not circumstantial. This is a digital fingerprint. This is the gun, in her hand, with the smoke. She clicked again. Device Carter's MacBook Pro. Action filed fraudulent HELOC application. Result match. This, Sloan said, is the firewall log from Nexus launch. This is federal wire fraud. We have 3 more slides just like this. I can continue, or we can accept reality. Lorraine was staring at the screen, her face white. She had never seen the data. She had only heard the threats. Now she was seeing the bullet. My clients, Petrucci said, his voice slick, are prepared to offer, as a gesture of goodwill, to put this family matter behind them. $10,000 for the trouble. The mediator sighed. I looked at Sloan. Sloan didn't speak. She just looked at Petrucci. She let the silence hang for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Then, she reached into her briefcase. She pulled out a thick, bound document. It was blue. In the Court of Common Pleas, Philadelphia County. It was already signed. By me. She slid it, gently, across the table toward Petrucci. That, she said, is the lawsuit. It is signed. It is ready. We are not here to accept $10,000. We are here to see if you will sign a confession, or if I am going to walk this document downstairs to the clerk's office and file it. You have one choice. That's it." The bluff had been called. Petrucci looked at the lawsuit, then at Lorraine. Frank Gray, who had been silent, let out a long, slow sigh. It was the sound of a man who was done. He leaned over. He whispered something in Lorraine's ear. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw her face. Her entire body went rigid. He had finally, at the last possible second, taken my side. He had told her it was over. Lorraine's hand, the one on the table, closed around the strap of her high-end leather bag. She gripped it. Her knuckles went white. She was holding on to the only thing she had left. "What?" Petrucci said, his voice now small. "Are the terms?" Sloane clicked the mouse. The final slide appeared. "Settlement conditions. 1, Sloane said. Full non-negotiable payment of $175,500, not 1 cent less. 2, full payment of all legal fees, which, as of this meeting, are now $40,000. 3, a public retraction and apology. 4, this, Sloane said, as a new line appeared. The iron clause, any violation of this agreement, a text, a drive-by, a new anonymous review. Any contact of any kind will result in an automatic penalty of 3 times the settlement amount, $526,500, payable in 30 days, and it immediately reactivates this lawsuit, with this settlement as Exhibit A admission of guilt. This is extortion, Lorraine hissed, her voice a viper's. No, Sloane said. This is a collar. You've earned it. Sloane looked at Carter. And one more thing. For him, her paralegal, who had been silent, placed a separate 1-page document in front of Carter. This is for you. Carter, it's a personal covenant. It states you will never, in public, in private, or on any digital medium, refer to the property at 1204 Locust Street. You will not use the words, my house, or family asset. You will not come within 1,000 feet of the building. You will not contact my client. If you do, you are in breach, and the penalty clause applies to you. Personally. Do you understand? Carter just stared at the paper, his mouth open. Lorraine looked at Petrucci. Petrucci looked at Frank. Frank just looked at the table. The surrender was absolute. We agree to the terms, Petrucci mumbled. Good, Sloane said. Then let's sign. The mediator, who had been watching this like a tennis match, slid the formal settlement agreement to the center of the table. Sloane signed first. I signed after her. The mediator slid it to Petrucci. He reviewed it, his face sour. He pushed it to Lorraine. She picked up the pen. Her hand was shaking, but not from fear. It was from a rage so profound, so deep. It was seismic. She was swallowing a lifetime of poison, and it was choking her. She drove the pen into the paper. The blue ink, a dark, heavy color, bled onto the signature line. Lorraine Gray. She shoved the document toward Carter. He signed, his hand clumsy, like a child. Frank was not a party. He just watched. The mediator took the document. This is now a binding agreement. We're not finished, Sloane said. She pulled out her laptop. The apology, per the agreement, it is posted now, before we leave this room. What? Lorraine snapped. The draft is in the agreement. You will log into your Philly Design Lover 88 and Concerned Customer 12 accounts, and you will post it. Then you will log into your personal Facebook account, and you will post it. I won't. You will, Sloane said, her voice like iron. Or you are in breach, as of right now, and that $500,000 penalty kicks in. Your move. For 10 agonizing minutes. We all sat in silence as Lorraine, her fingers trembling with fury, typed on her phone. It's done, she spat, throwing the phone onto the table. Sloane's paralegal was already on her own laptop. I see it. Concerned Customer 12. The apology is live. Philly Design, Lover 88. It's live. Facebook. It's public. We have it. Sloan nodded. My team is now sending the court-ordered settlement and the apology links to the legal compliance departments at Google and Yelp. The fraudulent reviews will be down within the hour. The machine, Mrs. Gray, just needed the right paperwork. The mediator stood. He took the signed agreement. I'm taking this to Judge Burns for her signature. This will make it a formal, enforceable court order. Do not leave. He was gone. We sat. No one spoke. Lorraine stared at the far wall. Carter looked at his feet. Frank looked at me, his eyes full of a lifetime of apology I did not want. I just looked straight ahead. The door opened. The mediator returned. He placed the document on the table. It is confirmed. Judge Burns has signed the order. This settlement is now a final judgment of the court. This matter is concluded. He looked at his watch. You are all free to go. Sloan packed her briefcase. I stood up. I walked out of the room. I did not look back. I did not say goodbye. I did not see them leave. I walked past the courtroom. I walked to the elevator. As I stood waiting, Sloan came up beside me. You'll have the wire transfer in the morning. Eloise, she said. Thank you. Sloan, I said. It was, she said, allowing herself a quarter smile. A pleasure. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in. As I rode down, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. A new email from John Evans, Evans Capital LLC. Subject co-working space contract. Eloise, great news. Our board has formally approved the design. The full signed contract is attached. We have wired the first milestone retainer. Welcome aboard. I stepped out of the elevator into the bright, cold lobby of the courthouse. I looked at the email, the contract, the wire transfer notification. A smile, a real one, touched my lips. It wasn't because they had lost. It wasn't because I had won, or because of the money. It was because the truth, my truth, the one I had gathered and documented and fought for, had just been signed, sealed, and certified by a court of law. The receipts were in. The case was closed. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're tuning in from. So please drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to Maya Revenge Stories, like this video, and hit that hype button to help get this story out to more people.